From Washington, this is VOA News. Deadly car bombings hit Iraq. Russian President Putin defends annexation of Crimea. I'm Ray Kouguell reporting from Washington. At least 2 car bombs killed as many as 37 people Thursday in Iraq, apparently targeting Shiites and Kurds. One blast struck a busy cafe district in a Kurdish neighborhood in Kirkuk. Another bomb hit the Sadr City region of Baghdad. Russia's President Vladimir Putin used his annual speech to legislators and officials Thursday to accuse Western nations of using the crisis in Ukraine to contain Russian progress. VOA's Daniel Schearf reports.
The Russian president lashed out Thursday at the United States and its European allies. Vladimir Putin said Western sanctions for Russia's annexation of Crimea were just an excuse to weaken the country.
Словом, всякий раз, когда кто-то считает, что Россия слишком стала сильной, самостоятельной.
He says the sanctions are not just a reaction of the United States and their allies over Russia's response to the events and coup in Ukraine. He says he is certain if all this did not take place, the West would come up with another reason to contain Russia's growing capabilities. Daniel Schearf, Moscow.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says better relations with the West are possible if Russia stops supporting separatists in eastern Ukraine.
The United States and countries that support Ukraine's sovereignty and rights do not seek confrontation. It is not our design or desire that we see a Russia isolated through its own actions.
Secretary Kerry spoke Thursday in Switzerland at a meeting of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko ordered a new ceasefire next week, all part of a push to end months of fighting with the pro-Russian rebels near the Russian border. This is VOA News. Russian officials say 10 policemen and 9 Islamist militants have been killed in a gun battle in the Chechen capital Grozny. Authorities say militants traveling in 3 cars attacked police at a Grozny checkpoint before storming nearby buildings. The Somali militant group Al-Shabaab says it shot down a Kenyan military plane returning from a combat mission in Somalia. Kenya says the plane crashed near Kismayo due to technical problems while returning from a mission in southern Somalia. U.S. officials have confirmed that American commandos failed to rescue American journalist Luke Summers in Yemen recently because he was not at the raid site. 6 Yemenis, a Saudi, and an Ethiopian were rescued in the operation. Summers was kidnapped in September 2013 in Sinai, Yemen, by an al-Qaeda branch in the Arabian Peninsula. New York says it's going to retrain its police force in the wake of a grand jury decision to not indict a white police officer in the chokehold death of an unarmed black man. Mayor Bill de Blasio announced the retraining of the city's 20,000-member force Thursday. He said it was essential that people of all races be treated equally by police. U.S. civil rights leaders are condemning the grand jury decision. National Urban League President Mark Morial says the incidents represent the abject, absolute failure of the U.S. criminal justice system.
This is a time in this nation, this is a moment where our consciousness is shocked.
In the incident, Eric Garner was arguing with several police officers who were arresting him for allegedly selling untaxed cigarettes. After several minutes, police officer Daniel Pantaleo grabbed Garner from behind in a chokehold, forcing him to the sidewalk. The medical examiner ruled the death of the heavyset Garner a homicide as a result of the chokehold. Garner had asthma. The central Philippines is bracing for another powerful storm that could make landfall Saturday. Simone Orendine has more.
Philippine President Benigno Aquino is looking to solidify the country's emergency response. During a nationally televised meeting of the country's Disaster Management Council, President Aquino urged the panel to move quickly so that residents still reeling from the after effects of Super Typhoon Haiyan do not panic.
Our job really is to calm them down, to minimize any of the negative repercussions from an event such as this. So I'm pressing everybody, yung checklist of what has to be done.
State forecasters place Hagupit's maximum sustained winds at 205 kilometers per hour. Simone Orendine for VOA News, Manila.
The European Central Bank predicts the economy in the continent's 18-nation euro currency bloc will barely advance in the next 2 years. The bank projects that the Eurozone economy, collectively the world's largest, would gain 0.8% this year. I'm Ray Kouguell in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.